Yeah, I said it before, I'll say it again. It's a bummer. I love working with John Carmack. He is somebody who reliably has great ideas, pushes hard for doing the right thing, always looking at near-term value. What can you deliver today? You don't have to wait. It doesn't have to be better. You can make it work with what you have. And it's a real loss to not have him kind of in my ear every Monday. He and I still have a great relationship. I expect I'll probably still have him in my ear pretty often on things that he sees that he disagrees with or wants us to do differently. And we did have disagreements. There's big pieces of work that I really believe in, that John, not that he didn't believe in them, but he thought we shouldn't be doing them yet. We should wait. We should do something differently, a different sequence. So it's a real loss. I'm sad about it, but I'm grateful for all the years that he spent with us, and he's just had a tremendous impact, and I think he's going to continue to have a tremendous impact. So I wish him well with Keen, his AGI startup. Yeah, thanks. So I think we're pretty happy with the headset. I mean, that hardware, I think for people who are really enthusiasts, they're using it for gaming, they're using it for entertainment, they're using it for things that they are already doing, they are loving it. I think it's the best VR headset out there. I think the new use cases that we were talking about, we're rolling out, we're very excited about, mixed reality, productivity, those are still a little bit ahead of us. The software has to catch up. The hardware, wasn't in market, so you couldn't have developers pushing on it for very long. So that's, I think we're still catching up with that, and I think people who are calling out that reality are doing just fine, and we're gonna step up and deliver on those promises. There's so many factors affecting weight. I think the answer to this question is we can expect HMDs at some point to weigh less. Right now, what drives the weight? Well, if you want to have split architecture, so you have your battery in the back, it's less portable, but certainly some people like the comfort more, even at higher weights, and suddenly the battery's not in the front, so you can get to a much lower weight front. The major driver of weight at that point is probably the optics. It's the glass or plastic required for the lenses. Obviously there's a lot more to it than just that, but that's probably the driver of the weight. So I think for the front unit alone to weigh less than 300 grams is not unthinkable, but I don't know where we are on that. We tend to look at these systems holistically. To understand the future, it's worth understanding where our avatar system came from. It started with spaces, really. It started with this kind of fun social project. It was very cartoony and simple, and it grew into being really, hopefully, more expressive with Horizon Worlds. We also want it to be good enough to be your avatar for sticker packs on Instagram and Messenger and WhatsApp, and so that is even more of a burden on the system. And then we want it to be able to do scale to various levels of detail. We want it to be able to have this kind of clothing option that's these importable meshes and textures, and we want it to be able to do at some point super realistic codec avatar type things. We are asking this rig to do a lot, so we are investing tremendously in building maybe one of the most flexible rigs in the world underneath it, but it's going to take about a year. So I think we're going to see a lot of progressions every month, things getting better. Yeah, this is an insider question, which I like. If you read this post I put up yesterday, I talked about infinite display, which we're trying to use to set a new baseline on how people evaluate virtual reality displays. You can't just use panel resolution, because panel resolution doesn't tell you the pixels per degree, because that reflects to field of view. It doesn't tell you about distortion correction. It doesn't tell you about uniformity across the visual field. And those are such important things to how we experience virtual reality. It's trivial to put a higher res panel in front of some optics and end up with worse results because you didn't optimize it very well throughout the entire visual pipeline. So we really think it's important for us as an industry to start cataloging the qualities of displays and the results that they give consumers. And ours is the infinite display. So augmented reality, you're walking around, you've got a display, there's objects in the world, but you don't have a keyboard or mouse. And we've really become dependent on what we consider direct manipulation interfaces. Even on our phones, we're using touch screens. Sure, you could use hands and voice. Those are actually relatively imprecise when they're out in space and you're out in the world, and they can be a little bit awkward, just gesticulating wildly or speaking to yourself. So they're not always appropriate, and they're certainly not subtle. And so EMG holds the promise of an always available, relatively precise, hopefully, input, and over time that one that we could use without even moving. Certainly not without intention, but without even moving. So we're very excited about the potential that EMG holds to help people take full advantage of their augmented reality displays? It's not a hard question. It was definitely the layoff. That's a terrible thing to have to do. These are talented people who believe in the mission, came here, wanted to do the work, and we misforecast. We thought that the pandemic change and inflection point around things like e-commerce was going to survive and kind of continue and not return. And so you kind of make plans around that, and those plans crumble, and real people are affected by that. And absolutely terrible.